Hello, everyone, and welcome to Global GEG. Today, we're going to be talking about training and icebreaker ideas. And I'm so excited to bring on one of my favorite people on Twitter, Miss Danielle. So hi, Danielle.
Hello. Hi.
And Danielle had this idea. She was like, I think we need to do a session on icebreakers. And I was like, I don't know if I like icebreakers, but yes. And so, Danielle, do you like icebreakers, or do you want to talk about your experience with icebreakers?
Yeah, so I've just become a Google certified trainer. So this was one of the things that I started to think about because at the minute, I suppose I train staff in my own school. So I'm thinking, right now, if I've got the Google certified trainer, I'm going to be thinking about maybe doing larger sessions and with people that I don't necessarily know. So we need to do these icebreakers. And personally, these are things that make me cringe entirely. If somebody says icebreaker time, I think, oh no, organized fun. I just don't like it. And I really run from the idea of them. But really, whenever you're in the middle of an icebreaker, I do sometimes see the reason for them and the point of them. And imagine if we didn't have the icebreaker, what would the impact be? You know, the session would have a totally different atmosphere. So I call them a necessary evil, I think.
Yeah, and before the session, we were talking about just some of the icebreakers we've seen. So let us know in the chat if you do like icebreakers or not. But some of them that we've seen is we'll have a speaker, and the speaker decides to go around the room one by one. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? And then, yeah. And then you have to like answer the question, and it's like awkward because you're supposed to be, like Danielle was saying, like you're supposed to be listening to the people that are in front of you, but instead you're like, what am I going to say? Okay, now there's 4 people in front of me, and you miss out on everybody else's dreams when you should be listening. And so we were just talking behind the scenes, like that's a really bad one.
Yeah. I know, and and then even after, for example, in sessions like that, after I have said my bit that I had rehearsed for the first 20 people in front of me, afterwards I'm not even listening to the people after that came with me because I'm still recovering from having to say this out loud to everybody in the group that I don't know, a group of strangers. So it's not a way to make someone feel relaxed, I think.
Yeah, definitely. So let us know again in the chat if you like those icebreakers or if they scare you. It reminded me too, like when we were in grade school and the teacher like did a Robin of who's gonna read, and you started to count how many paragraphs you were until you were reading. Well, I didn't listen to anyone else's paragraph because I was trying to make mine perfect. So I missed the whole content, and then I just read my little paragraph and it didn't make sense because I didn't read the other paragraphs leading up to it. So that's kind of what these icebreakers do, but we're going to try to remix them and make them fun. And we'll share our slide deck at the end. So that way you can click all the links in the presentation and you can steal any of the templates. Most of these I've found. Danielle's had some too. Some of them I've made, but we're just going to have fun today. Feel free to share your own icebreakers, and you are going to be asked to share your own icebreakers at the end of the session. So go ahead and pull up which one you want to share because it will be up there later. And yes,
we want ideas, lots of ideas. We want them.
Yeah. And Linda just says, no, just no. Yeah, no, just no to icebreakers. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So Danielle, why icebreakers?
Yeah, so I suppose if we think, what would be the impact if we didn't have an icebreaker? What would happen? So everybody be coming into the room, sitting down, perhaps not knowing the person sitting beside them. So really, when we have the icebreaker, it's all about warming everybody up to be able to connect with, say, the person beside them, being getting used to hearing their voice in the room. So it's just that idea of breaking the ice. It's breaking down that sort of atmosphere at the start when you walk into a new environment. It's really just getting that climate created conducive to everybody working together. So, if you have done something with the person beside you as an icebreaker, it makes it easier for you during the training session. Well, I think anyway, to be able to ask them for help if you don't know how to do something, or if the speaker said something and you didn't quite hear it, it makes it easier for you to be able to say to the person, what was that? I missed that, because you've already had a sort of opening conversation with the person. So it just really helps you connect. But I suppose, as Stephanie was saying earlier, it's important to know your audience. You really need to know the people and what would suit them. What activity suits a group of, for example, people who you know well may not necessarily suit a group of people who are all strangers. So I think there's different categories of icebreakers. You want to be making sure that you're choosing the one that suits the particular situation. And as well, I always find that if you're doing an icebreaker, it's really good to give the reason for the activity at the end. So Steph and I were talking before, where I was saying when I was looking up different icebreakers, newly minted trainer, thinking, oh, I need all of these things. When I was looking them up, I was coming across examples and thinking to myself, I can't imagine myself asking people to do that. It just wouldn't suit my personality. So I really think you need to kind of find things that suit you too, because you have to deliver it well. If you're delivering it in a way that makes you feel like you're cringing, well, then obviously that's going to translate to everybody else as well. So it is that idea of making sure that you're doing something that suits your audience, and as well the reason for the activity. Like if I did do something that was a little bit cringy, if I do link it back at the end, though, to why I've done it. So one of the ones that I thought was a wee bit cringy was asking a group of people to pretend they're a dog, pretend they're a monkey. Like, can you imagine telling a group of teachers to do that? But at the end, if you said, look, the reason for this was to be able to listen to everybody's voice, to interpret what everybody is saying to you. And today's session, we're going to do activities that allow you to listen better to your children in your class and to listen better to them. That kind of links something that seemed quite silly to a really valid point and the reason for your training. So I think that's the key. If you're going to do something that's a bit cringy, make sure there's a really good tie and a good link to the training for it. And then clear instructions. What you don't want is delivering the task and then everybody turning to each other and saying, what did you say? What was that? It's exactly the same in class, isn't it, Stephanie? If you give long-winded instructions and then you've lost everybody after the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's so important to break down tasks. So if you're looking them to get up, stand up to do something and do 3 or 4 things, I suppose it's about saying, right, everybody, firstly, stand up. And when you get everybody doing that, then move on to point 2 of the instructions and so on. So clear instructions make sure that everybody stays involved with what it is you want them to do. And then like timing and cues, really with the icebreakers that I've done with my own teachers that I work with, I often find it's best to nearly stop them while it's going really well. Stop on a high end when the energy is really high, because you don't want it to really run too flat, because the whole point of it is to get that excitement and interest up. So you almost want to stop it while the energy is still good in the room. So that idea of cues, and to be able to know what the energy is like in the room, you're going to, of course, have to participate. You can't sit up at the front and say, right, I've set them off to do their monkey noises and their dog noises. I'm going to sit here, and get my presentation ready. I think you have to be in the room, work in the room, don't you? You have to be part of it, because otherwise it just looks like you're sitting back killing time. You're killing time while they're all doing this sort of silliness. So you have to be there, observing, watching what everybody's doing and getting into the middle of it and having fun with them as well. And that'll make sure it's successful.
Yeah, those are all really good reasons about why we need icebreakers. And now we're going to get into some icebreakers. So these are just some game. We're kind of trying to organize them by topic. So we're just going to go through them. Again, I just shared the link for the slides in the chat, and you can go in, you can click these links. They're all hyperlinked. And so whose teeth? This one is a really fun one. And so this one's really good with kids, but I did do it before a session just because I like to bother Evan. But here you put up a slide and you just have the kids try to guess whose teeth are these. So you could break them up into groups of students. So maybe like 4 students are in a group, and then they're guessing together whose teeth they are. So that one is a zebra. And so the kids could also do this individually and just in the chat if you're on Zoom or you're doing this live, or you could even do this with adults and just try to make it a game. I've had a lot of fun with this one before, and the kids love it because they're like, that's not that, and so they just like this one, like they're like, that's a beaver, like they're just like, that's crazy. And you kind of learn some new facts about some animals. This one would also be really good for any new content. So I know it's about teeth, but maybe you're teaching about the presidents and you get like a screenshot, like which president is this? And it's just building some of that prior knowledge for kids before the session even starts. They're not being asked personal questions. It's just whose teeth are these? It's not even about anything about the student or the teachers or anyone in your professional learning. Like this is a little gross. So there's the first one. This one right here is similar. It's the eye quiz with different people, different famous people, and then there's an answer key at the bottom. So again, you could print these out. You could put this in a slide deck, and then the kids have to guess whose eyes these are. So these ones are Disney or Pixar. I think it's Pixar. And then here's some other ones, The Simpsons. And so then the kids would have to guess like whose eyes are those. So another great way just to get some of the engagement going. And I hated icebreakers before I went to the Google Innovator Academy. I was very shy. So whenever somebody was like, you're gonna like speak about what you would do if outside of education, and I'm like, my only thing I've ever wanted to do is like education. Like I don't know what I would do outside of it. And when I went to Google Innovator, they did some like about you type of icebreakers, but they also did like fun ones. And so that's when I started to change my mind about these icebreakers and how they can help when they are done strategically into the learning. So like some of them were just games. The first icebreaker we had that I didn't even realize was an icebreaker was they sent all of our cohort a Breakout EDU game. And you learned so much about the people in our cohort through that game. Like Galen is the most strategic person I know, and I am like the most organized. So us together made a really good team. I'm over here creating like a slide deck, and I'm like, here's all the pictures that go along with all the different codes, who's tried all these different things. And he is like, do this, and it should open up your box. And I'm like, yeah, like, let me just type that into my organized slide deck. And he's just like going off. And so like, I didn't even realize that was an icebreaker, but really I was learning so much about the people that I was going to spend the next couple months virtually and then in person with through this Breakout EDU icebreaker type of game. So games can be a great way to make that connection with other students. This one is Finish the Picture. So this one you could add, you could just print it, or you could add it into Pear Deck or anything like that. And as people are waited, as they're waiting, they just can draw. So like they could draw something from this picture to make another picture of whatever they're thinking. There's a ton of these on the web, and you can either print them again and kids can just use pencil. And then you can have a conversation if you wanted to, like, oh, what did you draw? And then they could share something that they wanted to share. This one right here is a good slide deck of just a ton of different activities for icebreakers. So there's like these little cards. And the reason I love this deck of cards is because it goes right here, number of people. So if I've got anywhere from like 6 to 50 people, I could probably use this type of game. So this one is yes and. So they partner up and then they go through like party or something like that. And partner A might give an idea, and then partner B says yes and they add on to that idea. And so you just keep building up on each other until you're like out of ideas. So just like some really fun games that you could do with them. And I love these again, just because it has like how many people these are good with, how many people they're good for. Like I actually printed these and I laminated them because if I ever just am like, okay, I've lost my audience, we're on an all day PD, we need to play a game, we need a break, I can pull out any of these cards. And then we're able to just kind of do a quick icebreaker to get that energy back up in the room. So again, great slide deck here. And there are 36 different like slides in here that you can kind of use with your audience. And then this one is Stand Up If. So I found this one, I think on Facebook. I think it was a Facebook group. Or no, it was Meredith Akers. It might have been her blog. And so you might have like all of the teachers stand up or no, sit down. I said that wrong. They're sitting down. And so then you say, stand up if you saw snow in real life. And then people might stand up if they've seen it. Stand up if you build a snowman. You could also do this with your kids if there was like a snow day, and you could ask them like who did what, who with their family last night used candles for light, because in Texas, this was all when like the power went out. So just a great way to kind of see and get to know people without them having to talk. And then if they wanted to share, you could have them do like a quick write, or you could have them share out loud. But just a really fun way to get people thinking outside the box. Never Have I Ever is always a fun one too. This one cracks me up. I think I found this one on Facebook. Let's see here. Taught class all day in my stretchy, comfy pajama pants. Never have I ever. I have or I have not. There was another really funny one. Kept my camera off during a meeting as my appearance was not Zoom ready. Has anyone ever done that? Yeah, so this one could be really fun. Yeah, saw a naked or nearly naked adult in the background during a class. So it's just kind of a fun way to get those like brains, giving them like a quick brain break, and just kind of like a funny way to get to know people. Had a student join my class while in a moving vehicle. I have. And then you can like say, oh my gosh, like none of us have had this happen, like that's crazy. Ask the parent to stop telling their student the answer and or doing their work for them. So just a great way to add some conversations into the mix. And then there's like guessing games. So right here is like, it takes you to YouTube videos. And like this one is emojis. So if you click the YouTube video, maybe. I better turn off the sound just in case. I'm known for getting us blocked on YouTube. But then you have to guess the food. So you're looking at these and you're just trying to guess what food that might be. And again, you could have people working in groups, or you could have them work alone. And I like it because it's already done for you. You just have to hit play, and then you can pause it, go back to whatever you're learning, or go to the next one if they need more of a break. So these ones are really cool just because there's like so many different ones in this deck. So like guess the candy.
I think these are really good, Stephanie, as well. If people are gathering, that stage at the start when people are arriving at different times to things?
Yeah.
It's a sort of a conversation starter when they come in, and it's something that they can look at. So that kind of awkward gathering bit at the beginning, this is a good kind of time filler, isn't it, to have running? Mm-hmm. I like these. I'm absolutely stealing all of these.
Yeah, I don't know how this one's Jolly Rancher. I don't get that one. Yeah, but I think too, like just like you said, when we are back in person, like normally when there's like PDs now, people usually show up like right on time, or they're able to hide. Like we were able to hide behind the StreamYard link today, so we didn't have to do an icebreaker. But when we're back in person, you might want to fill up some of that awkwardness with some of these fun games. And it helps with networking, because then you get to know people in the room just by like playing a quick guess the picture type of activity that was up on the screen. And so then you can have those conversations.
And I like, Stephanie, when you did this before in one of the global events, because it kind of got you warmed up to go into the chat. You know, really sometimes putting your first message into the chat can feel a wee bit awkward. So it was nice to have that, you know, where you were saying what you thought into the chat in a sort of a non-threatening way. You didn't have to come up with a very unique special idea. You could just throw in your answer. So it's really nice for that.
Yeah, definitely. So this one is like a really good resource. Guess the flags. And again, you could create your own and add them for your subject area just to build some of that prior knowledge. Scavenger hunts are always fun. So this one, let me see. This one, I was also thinking like scavenger hunt to build like prior knowledge or to get a pre-assessment. Because sometimes when you're doing a training, you're like, how much knowledge do they know about Google already? And so you could do like a fun scavenger hunt with this. And on here, like slide 3, you go using the shape tool, insert 3 different shapes, and then they have to use these colors in order to fill those shapes. So then you're learning, okay, do they know where the shape tool is? That's the first thing. Do they know how to add a custom color? And then you can kind of start your training. Okay, they know that task. I can move on to see if they know task 2 where the Explore tool is. And if they're inserting from Google, I can share this quick tip with them to save some time. So this scavenger hunt can be a really good way to gain that prior knowledge, because as the speaker, instructor, you're going to be kind of walking around the room, watching people as they complete the scavenger hunt. And you're just like, oh, they don't know how to do slide 3, inserting a video. Well, I'm going to start with my training with that, you know, and I can use some of this prior knowledge to help them with that skill. You could also do that with students as well.
Yeah, so I think, so as Stephanie said, getting information prior to a session is so helpful, isn't it? So that you can pitch the session at exactly the right level and you don't lose people as you go along. So just some of these examples. So I haven't put a link in for the Google Doc, but it was actually one of my favorite. You know, it was literally in advance of the session, the presenter just had a couple of columns in a Google Doc and shared it with us all in advance, and it was name, Twitter, and favorite food. And it was just so simple, but in advance of it, I was able to go on and have a look at who the people were on Twitter and find out a bit about them. And when I arrived at the session, I knew who I was looking out for, and I knew who I wanted to have a conversation with in advance. So it's just really simple, but I thought so effective, even better than that one of going around the room and asking you individually to introduce yourself. You know, I was excited to go to the event because I knew in advance who was going to be there and I could get chatting to them. So that was really good. You know, it set the tone before we went. And the slides bio one is a similar idea, but it's just, I suppose, sharing a bit more information. In the slides bio one, it's kind of choices of information that you'd like to share down the side, and just, for example, grabbing a note, putting it on, and then answering your question. And it gives you choice. You can decide how much or how little you want to share of the information. It just keeps it comfortable. You can share very little. You can share your name, and you can put your photo in or no photo. It sort of meets everybody where they are and makes sure that they're coming in and they're not feeling under pressure, you know, to share all this personal information in this group of strangers, or even with colleagues. Sometimes people don't always want to share too much. So something like this, I thought, is sort of non-threatening, and it's, you know, it's still at the same time serves the purpose of getting everybody connected at the start, but it's in a sort of less threatening way. So then there's little squares at the top there. So that's one of those ones, you'll have seen all of those before, you know, where you can, for example, say what my family thinks I do, what my friends think I do, and that's just for a bit of fun. You know, you could perhaps pop into there a GIF, or you could pop something else in. And then the if I were, that one was that Stephanie just showed. that's the if I were one is just putting in it's one of these ones that I don't like myself. If I was an animal, what animal would I be? And I sit and think, oh, I don't know what to say for this. But again, as I was saying earlier, if you link it to the context of creative thinking, it works there. It matches. At the minute we're all starting to think about the Adobe Creative Educators, and we're thinking of that, and it's all about creativity, and it's about bringing people along who don't really think they're creative at the start. So this would be something that I would use with my staff. And I would be saying to them, I know you don't think of yourself as a dog, but let's think outside the box here. Let's think about, and even though I don't personally like it, there are people who would love this. There are people who would say that they really like it. And I suppose it comes down to personality type as well, doesn't it? For what works.
Yeah, and I love the slides bio one that you shared, and just giving people choice. Because, for example, Louise said it earlier, Stephanie hasn't seen any of those movies. So if I was asked, what is like a movie you saw last week? I don't watch movies, so I don't know how to I struggle with answering that question. So if I had a choice, I feel a little bit more calmer, and you have me in a good mental state because I'm ready to learn. Where sometimes these icebreakers can get you really, really stressed out, and then your mind can't even open up to learn. So those are really fun. I love that. And I love the Google Doc idea you had. We did something like that for an Energizer. But you had, you got a person. So you were like a mystery date type of thing. And you had to spy on this person and follow, not follow them on Twitter, but look at their Twitter, get to know them through their social media. And then when you came to the in-person event, I think there was so many questions, and if you answered so many right, you got a prize. So it was just and I felt like I knew the person before I got there, because then I could ask them hey, I see you own your own business. What is that like, owning a consulting business? Or what is it like being a teacher in fourth grade? You had to stalk this person. Not really, but kind of to a point. So I love that idea. And of course, whenever there's prizes, you have me engaged. I will do anything for a prize. So I love that. And then in the chat we have, I love that if I were a, so yeah, that one's a fun one too. So I love all these ideas. And I think this one would be fun too. The little 4 boxes, what my friends think I do. And then you could kind of just start a conversation that way. So I might be stealing all of these. All right, we've got more.
Yeah. So yeah, as Stephanie, as you said, the games are always a hit, aren't they? For the competitive streak, yes. And that's a way, I think, to get people involved. So I think probably everybody has seen the bingo board before, where you have to find somebody who matches the bingo, and you have to get the board filled up. And again, offering a prize, or something to somebody who gets theirs filled up first, or gets a row filled, or all of that. It's really motivational to get people up and moving off their seats. And you could do it, I suppose, in the middle of a session as well, just as an energizer, when the room starts to get flat. So definitely anything that has a prize attached is going to get people interested and pique their interest. There's a goal there, isn't there? As well as, getting to know people. So that one there, that's just, there's loads of those on the internet. When you start to search the internet, there's loads of those that you can download and use. And then the Dingbats one is good as well. I would have used the Dingbats one and Jamboard. It worked really well for me, because they could work together in teams. And often what you see is people saying, I have no idea what the answer is to that. And that's actually a good thing, because you're getting people talking. You're getting people to say, I never know the answer to these things. I don't know how to do that. And it's really fun, if you have groups and tables, because you often get somebody jumping up from the table and taking a peek at somebody else's. And I'm just going to the bathroom, but walking past and looking down at the pages, it gets a bit of fun going in the room. And definitely when there's a prize attached. And that's what I was thinking. I was going to ask Stephanie and anybody else that's here, where's a good place to get swag to give out in your training sessions? Where can you get, prizes to give out? I remember when I went to my first Google Educator boot camp, and I came home with a Google mug, which I still have. We got like a lanyard thing, which I kept. So all these things matter. And so I need to really look into collecting these things and seeing where I can get them. So if anybody has any ideas on those, I would love to hear it.
Yeah, big thing is chocolate. Another good one is emailing your EdTech companies. So if I'm doing a training on Edpuzzle, email them. They might send you some stickers, and people will work hard for stickers. But definitely just email the companies. Sometimes I've been sent out t-shirts. Wakelet likes to send out t-shirts. If I'm doing a session with teachers, they might send me like 3 t-shirts, and then I can use those as prizes. So those are a lot of fun ones. Maybe pens. When ISTE was in person, I used to come home with a lot of swag, and I would use it for the whole year just to give out. So like if you go to a conference, go to the vendor hall and just give whatever they'll give. I mean, I gave out like sunglasses and people will like work really hard for it. Non-prizes stuff, talk to your principals. Can you let a teacher go to lunch 15 minutes early and you cover their class? Can you let a teacher get out of their bus duty or their recess duty and you cover it for them? Teachers love that.
That's a brilliant idea. I love that. I hadn't thought of that. Yes, absolutely. Those are the wee things that matter, aren't they?
Yeah. And same thing like jeans passes. What teacher doesn't want to wear jeans, especially after COVID when we're used to our sweats, back to school? And so just thinking about those type of prizes, like what can I do so a teacher doesn't have to do their bus duty? Can I do it for them? It will take 15 minutes and it's free and you didn't have to ask any companies and you can just do it.
I love that idea. Yeah. And so some other things I was thinking about now, I haven't actually done this one. It's the a Bitmoji kind of group photo. Do you know the way you see at the minute lots of teachers doing their class group photo? So basically I put a link in there to a video on YouTube of how to, make those and put them together into a group. And there's loads of videos on those. And I think Jen from, isn't it, Tech 411, yes, she has brilliant videos and tutorials on Bitmojis. So I was thinking, I wonder if you kind of got everybody to put their Bitmoji into a group photo in advance, and then maybe at the start of the session you could go around and try to identify who's who from their Bitmoji. So I haven't done it yet, but I'm wondering how it would work out. But that's something that I thought maybe I could try that. That might be fun.
Yeah, that one would be fun. Or even if they added like a speech bubble, that could be fun too.
Yeah.
Love that idea. And this could even like promote the learning on Twitter. Like you could, have a hashtag for the conference and then they share out what they're learning.
Yeah. So that's one that I haven't done yet, but I'm going to try. And then the potato head one, just Ireland. We love potatoes in Ireland. Potatoes feature a lot every day in my life. So for potatoes, so that's it. It's basically the wee potato character, and everybody's familiar with it. And you grab the pieces and you customize it. And basically, that worked really well for me in one of my Jamboard training sessions. When they went on, and just like you said previously, Stephanie, whenever you're trying to get a feel for their prior experience of a tool, seeing them in action, actually trying to move and manipulate the objects in the Jamboard, it really was very effective for me to see their levels, because they have to move things in behind, they have to move things to front, they have to duplicate. And it really was very telling where they all were in their skills. And as well, then what I thought you could do is when everybody has customized their own, what you can do is nearly a gallery walk through and see, everybody's little potato head that they've made. So in mine, for example, I've put on my Shamrock Ireland and put on, the wee laptop, because that's kind of what I do in school. So you can customize it, even if the actual shapes aren't there. You can draw things on and customize it to show something about yourself. So that's good, and I suppose getting conversations started. And I thought that would work really well. And as I said, I was so surprised at how involved my teachers were. After a full day of teaching, they were willing to sit for 10 minutes and play about with this, and it was almost difficult to get them to stop using it, to say, right, let's move on now, let's wrap it up. They were really enjoying it and having a good laugh, looking at everybody else's representations of themselves. So surprisingly, it was a good one to do. And just as you said previously about walking the room, Stephanie, I was able to walk around and see where everybody was and doing it in a really fun way. So yeah, that's me there. That's my representation of myself there. And you can see, you could even, if the group of people don't know each other, you could then, just like we said with the Bitmoji, you could maybe ask them to go and find who is that person there, and then ask them, what's the shamrock about, or what's the such and such about. They could put something in to do with their hobby or something else as well. And then other people can really show off their skills. They could put in their Giphies and make theirs really special. And then you get conversations, other people saying, how did you do the Giphy? Show me how to do a Giphy. And it just sort of develops that sort of group spirit and that, community of learning.
Yeah, I love that. And I love too, when you use icebreakers with teachers, they get to see it modeled and then they can use it with their kids. Because a huge part of learning is that SEL, social emotional learning, and those relationships that teachers can build with their students. And so something as easy as the potato head or the Bitmoji, teachers could implement that into their classroom with their own students. They could do a bingo board to get to know the classrooms, so students can build that community with one another.
So it's just important then as you go along through the sessions just to continuously read the room. Have you lost everybody? Is the energy low? And then reacting to that to make sure that everybody's still with you. So basically just thinking of different ways to do that. And the gift challenge, if you just simply had a slide deck and just at any point in the room, you could pose a question and say, okay, how much do you like Google Slides? And then they could find a gift to represent that, or how are you feeling about where we are in our learning now? And they can just instantly put it in. It's just so flexible, and it creates lots of fun in the room where, because you'll see at a glance what everybody's thinking, but they're doing it in a really fun way. So I absolutely love gifts for that.
Yeah. That one's a lot of fun. And I love the Giphy extension too. So you could have people add this. They've got like the gifts, you can add stickers, and then they just added like text. So you can write whatever and it will create a GIF out of it, which is amazing. And then they just added these cute little emojis.
Yeah, and there's no prep involved hardly with it. It's just so quick to do in the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Stephanie, do you want to talk about thin slides? You're the expert on our edgy protocols. I've learned so much from you with those.
I love some edgy protocols. So thin slides is super easy. This one takes like 5 minutes or less. So this one was with one word, but you could do this with any word. So like maybe you are coming back from New Year's and your teachers have created a 1 year or one word for their 2021. They could go to a slide, add their word, add an image, and then everybody presents for it takes 5 minutes to create, and then they talk for 5 seconds. And so everybody's on the same slide deck. It's super easy. Everybody's name goes in the speaker notes. And then again, maybe it's like, okay, food you hate. Everybody finds an image of food that they hate, one word to describe that food. So if I'm doing food, it would be Vegemite. So I put an image of Vegemite in there, and then I put gross. And then I can add maybe like if I'm just wanting to see what they know, I might do a Google Slides translation. I might do change the font color just to see what my trainees know. And then again, they put their name in the speaker notes, 5 minutes to create, and then 5 seconds to share their word. So they get that processing time to think about, okay, what do I want to do? How am I going to share it? And it's not as like, oh my gosh, I have to do this. There's time to prepare for them to do this. So great ways and such a fun way to do it. And then with this, there's also starts. These ones, this one, is this it? The joy building?
Yeah. I think you when I saw that you put those links in, Stephanie, I went down and I thought I have to steal all these ideas. Was this was an innovator program, was it? Or an innovator
Yeah,
project?
so
Yeah.
this is
There's so
Lauren
much in
Hale.
here.
Yeah, Lauren Hale, she's amazing. She's like
Mhm.
a graphic organizer that became an educator, I think. And she like look at these like lesson plans. They're just so pretty, and she makes sure like they're all accommodated for students and all of this. But down here at the bottom, these joy building activities are really good to get to know your students. So your students can take a photo or your trainees, and then they do a quick this or that. So just real quick, which one would you pick? And then pack your suitcase. What would be in your suitcase if you went to Sydney, Australia? Like what products do you have to take with you? Those kind of things. 20 years from now.
They're
Emoji
fabulous
news.
templates.
Yeah, so just so many
Mhm.
free templates that you can use. My week in a GIF. So we talked about using GIF. She actually has a template that you could just say, okay, it's a Friday, Saturday training. How was your week? And you can probably get some really funny topics here. And then the week's top 3 picks. And then like I spy something in your house that's blue. And then the kids could take a picture. So another like scavenger hunt type game. And again, you just click and then you can make a copy of all these amazing templates that she's designed for you.
The more and more you talk, Stephanie, the more I'm starting to like icebreakers. I can't believe
Yeah.
So yeah, the word cloud, I was just thinking again, just similar to that, just a quick thing in the middle of a session, just pop in one word. How do you feel? How's it going? What do you hope to get out of this session? Any of those things that you can just quickly fire up and then get a bit of discussion with the whole group, you know. So word clouds, I think, would be quick and effective for those sort of
Yeah, word clouds are amazing. And it's always just like fun too, because the word that people put in the most gets bigger and it like goes to the center. So it's just kind of interesting to like just even do a brain dump. Like, okay, what have you learned? What's going on? And then people can throw out ideas and it just like pops up. Or like, what's stressing you out? COVID, you know, it's like huge on the screen, and then it's like, like my kids are at home or like whatever. And so you can get a feel for like, okay, the room is really stressed with this activity. How can we problem solve to maybe ease their stress?
Mm-hmm. And then the last one, weather report, again, just simple wee template. Again, say what's the mood. So a bit like the GIF one, how's your week gone? So it's that sort of idea here. You know, you're looking out the window, what's represent your mood by the window, put on there different activities. So this would be good for your pupils as well, you know, when you're checking in with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
that's a really fun one.
and you can really, you can see who has a really good sense of humor in this activity, because they're going to put something very random in there for the third point where it's saying add another object. So I've been very conservative putting an airplane in, but you should see the things that other people decide to put in. And yeah, it can be really fun.
Yeah. All right, so here are some more. These are more like check-ins. So just to get a feel for how your trainees, how your students are coming into the room, because if someone's really stressed, you might need to address that before they can learn. There's a lot of science about how we're feeling can affect the way that we learn. So these honest scales, there's a ton of slides, and what people do is they just pick on a scale how they're feeling. And so like some of them, you know, some people might say they're a 7. Some people might be like, oh, I'm definitely an 8. I'm exhausted. So then you can just kind of get a feel real quick how the people are doing. And this allows you to follow up like, oh, I saw that you said 6. Like, is everything okay? Do you need anything? Is there any support? Or maybe you see that people are really tired. So you might want to try to like take a coffee break and be like, go get some coffee or whatever you need to do. But there's just so many templates in this slide deck. And then this next one has check-ins. So again, it's got those GIF kind of check-ins, just like on a scale, but it's just got a different type of feel for it rather than it being like the same type of theme.
The GIFs give so much energy, don't they?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This one is like quotes. So which quote represents, you know, kind of goes with you today. Emojis are always a fun one. Which animal? The kids love this one. With the weather again. And then this one's like, what pit? Like, what's a challenging thing? What's been a cherry, or like what's really sweet about your week? The rose, thorn, bud. I mean, there's just so many different templates that are already out there for you to use. Right here, you can pick like a this or that. Are you a dog person or cat person? And you quickly get to know people by how they respond to these different questions. So this slide deck just has a lot of different questions, examples, and again, kids could answer on the slide deck, or you could have them answer in a small group. Excuse me.
Bless you.
If you wanted to, totally up to you. And then, yeah, this one is questions. So these ones are created by Catlin Tucker. And what she did is she broke us up into breakout rooms. So using that breakout room feature, setting a timer, let people network, because that is something that can be really good about a session. But sometimes they don't know what to network about. So creating questions that they're able to answer. And so you might say, okay, you get 5 minutes to talk about this question. So what was your high from this week? What went really well? What are you feeling good or confident about? And then what was I low, or what was challenging or frustrating this week? What did you struggle with? And then you can just have that conversation with people. Same with like batteries. So what's draining you this week? What's energizing you? Song of the day. Choose a song that represents how you're feeling today.
I think this is going to keep me going for the next 10 years, Stephanie. We've got so much here.
We can just do whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So these are just like fun ways just to get the conversation going. And again, just put people in a breakout room. I would not do these whole group where everybody goes around the room and shares. Have them just get with 2 or 3 other people and talk about the conversation in a small group. And then they can move groups to get to know more people. But I would not do this whole group.
I think that's sort of, if you think about icebreakers, that you don't like yourself. And that's kind of a good measure, isn't it? If it didn't work for you, there's a chance there's somebody in your session that's not going to work for either.
Yeah. Yeah. And then this one is 5-minute remote. So like bio bag, digital all about me. And these just have a ton of different ideas that you could use to get to know people. So what's your jam? This one's really cool. Like you take little, like little stickers, but digital stickers, and you just put them on the place you might want to visit or spend the night at. This or that type questions, virtual show and tells. So just like a lot of fun. And the virtual show and tells, this could be a really good one. Everybody always has their phones on them at a PD usually. And so have them go into their photos, and maybe they pick out one photo that really stands out to them. So I'm going to find, let me see here. So in their photos, let me go to the right account. I might show you a picture of, all right. So there we go.
Oh,
that little AJ. And then you start having a conversation about this little kid, and the then when the speaker's like, okay, we got to get going on to the training, people can't stop because they want to talk about the person that's on their phone. Mm-hmm. So just say, okay, I'm going to give you 1 minute, find a photo on your phone, share it with the person next to you, and tell them why this photo is so important to you. And then it just brings up that conversation. Oh, Stephanie has a son who is, 16 months old, and he's absolutely crazy. That kind of stuff just gets the conversation going. That can be a really good one. And people usually have their phone on them. And then the last one I wanted to talk about on this slide was it's not even going to it. Let's see if I can, there we go. The can we talk? So this website is amazing. Stephanie Rothstein's amazing. And on here, it's a personality test. So you can actually take the test and you can have your guests take the test and then you get to know them. So if you're working with teachers all year, you might want to have them take this in August. And then you can kind of think about, how am I going to do my icebreakers with them? Because I know my oranges, they're going to be very spontaneous. They can go right off the bat. But if you have a lot of gold teachers, they need that time to think about, okay, what does this look like? And it has to be perfect and it has to be very organized. Your greens are going to question you a lot. And so just having your staff take this test can really help you with just some ideas on how to get to know them. And you might have them do some of these activities that Stephanie did on her website. So she did like a get to know you slide. People take their color and they decorate the phone case. You could have them put what category they go into. So it's really helpful to know. She also has different challenges each month. So again, just can be helpful to get to know who's in your group and how to give them feedback. So I highly suggest going to this YouTube video and watching Stephanie Rothstein give this talk, because it was so amazing. And she goes over all the colors and everything in the deck. So again, amazing, amazing, amazing.
I'm just thinking that would be really good for the start of a coaching cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then these are just some ideas for students. You could probably do this with staff, but it might just be a lot more funner with students. So like a virtual field trip, just to kind of get their prior knowledge going about volcanoes if they're learning about that. And they're just kind of clicking these links as they're waiting for you to get started. Also, a lot of these while you wait have been kind of fun. So having the schedule for the day, are you ready for today? Having what they need. And then on this day, and this is just helping provide clarity. It's something that we talked about earlier in the session, giving students those clarities for what is expected. And same with agendas. This can help a lot of your golds. They need to know what's going to happen and when it's going to happen. So it can just cause a lot of that ease as you're going. And then just some end of the training ideas. So once the training's over and you want to gather some feedback or some reflection, you could do these like cards. And so how do you feel? What does this new learning mean to you? And then people could talk with each other about what they've learned. Triangle, circle, square. People can write down 3 important points that they have learned, something that they agreed with, and then something that's still circling in their head. And the circling one is maybe where I, as a trainer, would do follow-up. And I would meet with the teacher and just say, hey, I saw you had this question. Let's work on it in a one-on-one session. Or, hey, I found this resource for you. It might work for what's still circling in your head.
Yeah, and it's really good to have that back channel at the end of the training. So, sometimes you might meet somebody new at a session, and it's nice as well to be able to have somewhere to go to follow up with that person to find out who they were.
Yeah, and you can even have the attendees share with each other. So maybe you say, okay, find somebody, tell them 3 things you've learned, and then you talk with them. Okay, now find someone, tell them something you agreed with. Then talk to someone that's still circling in your head, and that one can be like a brainstorm of solutions that might help them with, like, oh, I do this in my classroom. And then this compass pass, so like north, east, west, and south. So what else do you need to know and understand about this type of problem solving? What excites you, what worries you, and then like steps. So again, just getting that reflection kind of going. And then these are just some fun other ideas. Music can be a great way just to get the energy up, just like those gifts. So just playing music. Also, when the people might be working like on a reflection type of activity, you might want to play some like soft background music just so it's not awkward. And sometimes it might just help that time go by a little faster, because when I want to give people think time and it's silent, I'm like, I need to talk.
Yes.
So just like when I have that music, I'm like, okay, once this song's done, I will talk. Providing an agenda for people can really help. And then those countdown timers. So like if you're doing some task, okay, you get 30 minutes for part A or 30 seconds, go. And then you time them and then it goes off. Okay, now we have another minute, and when you're doing some of these activities, play a timer so people can kind of look and go, okay, I need to let the other person talk because I've been talking for 45 seconds, like, so you can kind of go like that. Yeah. Any other ideas you have for icebreakers, Danielle?
Yeah, no, I'm stealing all of your ideas that you've given me here. I've come with a few and I've come away with, as I said, 10 years worth. So it's brilliant. And I can't wait to get my hands on this slide deck and I'm just going to store them all away. I'm going to make myself a wakelet and I'm going to be all set and I'll have lots just to drag out as and when I need.
Yeah. And I love what Denise said in the chat. She usually asks, what would you write to your friend about our meeting today? That's a really good one. When I was at the Google Innovator, we had to write a postcard to ourselves. And then it got mailed to us a year later. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I said that. So then you could send the letter back to the teachers if you wanted to or something like that. That's a really good idea. Yeah. And so now we want to hear from you. So we have a Google form and I'm going to throw it into the chat. And what we're just asking for is your email address. This is just so if somebody wants to follow up with you, they can ask additional questions about the resource. What title do you call your icebreaker? So maybe it's like a game or maybe it's like a would you rather. What's the description? What type of what would the directions be? And then share it. Make sure you force a copy of the link and make sure it is anybody can view. So just make sure that. And then we would love to steal your icebreakers. And right here on slide 13, if you click the resource link, all of these amazing resources will be coming in. So we would, again, like Denise just said, what would you write to your friend about our meeting today? She could go ahead, plop that into the Google form, and there is a resource for us to use. I would just have her add it to a Google slide or something. So that way it goes with the link because I think, no, you could add it here. You could just add it right here, Denise. And then it should be good. And then we can see all of these different ideas coming in. So that way it's kind of in one place. So we would love to steal from you.
Absolutely. Keep them coming.
Yeah. And that is all the icebreakers that we kind of have today. Again, it's going to take us 10 years to go through them, but I'd rather have more than less.
Yes, absolutely.
So I hope you enjoyed today's session. I know I did. I loved presenting with Danielle, and I hope I get to do this more often because she has so many great ideas. And I am so excited to see the Google Slides resource as well as it being built out as people watch this session. Anything else?
I'm looking forward to following all your Gold EDU channel. So there'd be so many ideas coming out on that as well. So I'm looking
I know
forward
I might have to do I have to think of a gold name for icebreakers.
Yes,
I take these one by one and just pop them up. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining today on Global GEG. Make sure you reach out to Danielle and myself if you have any questions or need any help with any of the templates that we shared today. We are more than happy to help with any of that. And we look forward to connecting with you. Bye, guys.